Question: what is a sadly overlooked thing that many people do most of the time unintentionally? Back in a minute. This is Jan from New York City, and my channel name is Jan from New York City Saves Money. Going to get right into it, not going to waste any time. I dislike hugely food waste. I know that sounds a little hilarious when someone on the chunky side says that, but I mean that for the world in general at large. I do not like it. It must be avoided at all costs. I don't believe the majority of people that waste food do it with intention, but there are many ways that we can avoid food waste almost down to the letter. With zero food waste is the goal. Will that always realistically happen? I hope so. I don't think so, but let's at least strive towards it. So I'm going to jump right into it. The first one, which seems kind of common sense, actually all of them seem common sense and they sound great. But the thing is, do we put it into practice? All right. So the first one, buy what your family actually enjoys eating. I know it seems so in your face and common sense, but let's think about it. If you're going to buy foods that you already know your family dislikes, even though you know it's the healthier option as opposed to another option, if they're not eating it, you wasted food. That's never good. Okay. Next, store your food promptly and properly. There are so many variations to storing food. I'm going to look around for an appropriate video that would help you out. I do recall Debbie from the How Debbie Saves channel. She had done a video specifically regarding meat storage, if I'm not mistaken, about a year or so ago. I'm going to try to find that and perhaps an additional video to help you out, because this is the truth. If you're not storing your food promptly and safely, again, food waste, not good. The next one sounds kind of weird, but get off the ho-hum meal treadmill. What do I mean by that? If you tend to make the same things all the time, no uniqueness about it, never switching up on seasonings, yes, make the same things that your family enjoys, yes, but maybe put your own unique twist on it. Ask them, what's wrong with sitting down with your family, having a little family meeting about meal planning? Because the goal is to avoid food waste. Let me take a sip of this lovely hot chocolate. Can I tell you something? Despite how pretty and bright it looks behind me in this picture, in reality, New York City, it is only 26 degrees. And mind you, I'm recording this in advance. It's like towards the end of March. 26 degrees? I need my hot chocolate. Yum. You'll never see me waste hot chocolate. In fact, I hardly ever waste any food. All right. Keep an eye on your active pantry. Keep an eye on your pantry, your extended pantry. Keep an eye on your freezer. Many times people put things in the freezer, for example, and they kind of like forget it. Well, it's in the freezer. It'll last forever. Sorry. No, it doesn't last forever. I don't think it may harm you after a while, but I think it does lose its flavor. And you want to try to avoid freezer burn. Again, go back to one of those videos to avoid such a thing. This is so true. I just mentioned it earlier. Learn how to properly wrap and store meats and dry goods. Recently, a relative told me that they found weevils in their dried pasta. You know those little pastina type pasta, those little stars? Well, one of my relatives wrapped it in like a Ziploc type bag, And unfortunately, it developed those weevils. So again, here you go. Perhaps it was too humid, your storage place. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that with pasta. So be really careful. Again, look up all the information. And the great news is that it's readily available. Shop wisely. Don't buy things that your family will not eat. Just because something is on sale, this is where a lot of people make a mistake. They see something, quote, end of quote, on sale. Man, that's a bargain. Let me load up on that. But the truth be told, your family really doesn't care for it, or you didn't know that. That's why, like, pick up the phone. If you're at the supermarket, if you're at the grocery store, and you find one of those so-called bargains, call your family and ask them, would you eat this if I bought this? I mean, thankfully, we live in that age where we can easily do that, right? Call or text or whatever. That's a great idea. Again, we're trying to avoid food waste. Next, repurpose your food scraps. I don't like the term food scraps. It just doesn't sound so pretty. But for example, what do I mean by food scraps? All right, you roast a chicken or a beef or a pork. And, you didn't, not saying the stuff left over in your plate, not that there's anything wrong with that. Put it to the side, it's yours, whatever. Do it as you wish. But if it's still on the bone, I can't tell you how that, really, I don't know, it frustrates me when I see people throwing away lots of, chickens with tons of meat left on it, or turkeys, things of that nature. Utilize. Put those little, quote, scraps, bits and pieces of protein, meats or whatever, in, let's say, a brightly colored or a nicely colored, different, separate looking container, so that you and your family know right away what the purpose of that container is for. And you put that in your refrigerator exclusively for those things. Don't go past 3 to 4 days. Let's say by day 4, that is the day that you should designate to create something totally, completely brand new. This is where getting creative in the kitchen comes in extremely handy. So do that. Team that up with some vegetables, and there you go. Okay, this one is kind of like, I don't know if anybody thinks of this, but just reduce the ingredients you use in a recipe. Don't use an 8-ingredient recipe. There are so many, and I know I'm going to sneeze momentarily. Allergy time. Excuse me. I know, Gesundheit. Let's start over. Get smaller or create smaller ingredient meals. There are lots of 3-ingredient meals, 5-ingredient meals. Again, check them out. Maybe I'll find one of those and hook that up as well. The less you use, the less you use. The less you use, the less it costs. The more you're going to stretch your budget, and the least likely you're going to waste it. So don't over shop either. Yes, there is such a thing as over shopping. There is. If it's going to sit somewhere forever and ever, you're never going to use it. Food waste. We don't like that. Okay, another thing. Let's say you go into a restaurant, and on occasion, we all go to a restaurant, okay? I'm not suggesting we do it 5 times a week if you're trying to, hit your savings goals, but you know how I feel about that. But on the occasion that you do go to a restaurant, don't be shy. For example, don't avoid plate waste, as they call it. Sometimes they bring out these huge plates of things. It's just too much to have at one sitting. Even if the person isn't frugal, and then some people are really embarrassed to say they want to pack up the rest and go home, tell the waiter or waitress beforehand, please put less on a smaller plate, put the remainder, please, in a container. Doesn't hurt for you to remember that person in the tip. You paid for that food already. It is your food. There's a lot of restaurant waste. Believe me, I know. I can tell you this for a fact. A lot of restaurant waste, and it's really sad. Okay, so like I said earlier, kind of sort of recycle your food. Recycle it with that separate container. Some people put down buying those containers thinking that It's just going to sit there. Maybe that happens. But even if it happens for a little bit and then you realize, well, why let that happen? And I love Kate Caden's idea because I've been doing the same idea. I have been doing it. Kate, if you're watching, I've been doing the same thing. Great minds, with certain things. Those like deli cold cut containers, the ones with the pinkish red top? Take off the label when you finish. Do not just throw that away. They make fabulous, fabulous food containers. They are terrific. So again, not only are you saving on food, but you're reutilizing that container. So that's a good thing. Avoid buying too much. And this is another one. Think twice or think very carefully before you discard something. Now, some people discard things because, well, it really expired and could be an unhealthy thing to eat. Nobody wants that. Absolutely. But let's say, oh, but I just put it in the refrigerator 2 days ago. More likely than not, 2 days ago is not that long ago. You could totally reinvent something with that item. So try to avoid food waste at all possible. And I know it's possible. What did I have here? Oh, I want to talk a minute about manager specials. Okay. I might have touched upon it in the past, but it's worth repeating because there are different people that watch the show every day. A manager special is not worth it if you're going to take that thing home, throw it in your refrigerator, let it sit there for 6 days. It's already practically expired, okay? When you're buying meat, manager special. So do one of two things. Cook that product immediately the day that you take it home or immediately freeze it. That thing has to be used fast or stored fast because otherwise, unfortunately, you're going to add that to your list of wasteful things to do. We don't like that. I know we don't. All right, let's talk a minute about food banks and food pantries. Here we are talking about avoiding food waste. I can't tell you that what some people consider waste, other people consider their Thanksgiving dinner. Okay, what you might consider boring, some people wish they had. So once again, I implore and encourage every one of us to do our part. If we possibly can, call your food bank or food pantry. Find out what they actually need. Sometimes they have way too many of one thing, but can use another thing. I know I mentioned this before in the past. Some things are worth repeating. Just saying. If you don't want to deal with the actual food, cash donations are totally welcome to food banks and pantries. Look up the ones that you find reliable in your area and so on and so forth, if that's what you would like to do. I think there's no better feeling than giving. So if we can do it, we can do it. Honestly, I think most of us viewing on an internet paid for device, like phones, laptops, you name it, desktops, tablets, if we can do that, getting those things, in my opinion, we can give a little bit to a charity of choice. In the meantime, this has been Jan from New York City. Thank you so much for viewing. Why? Because I really do appreciate who? You. Don't forget to come back in the future. I'm going to find my outro, and I'll be back in a minute with a wave. Have an amazing, fantastic day. Take good care now. Bye-bye.